Hello everyone, Karnasa here, and welcome back to another build episode on this channel. And what we're going to be working on today is going to be the Venus Expeditionary Rover for exploration of anomalous landmarks, or VEN.E.R.E.A.L for sure. I swear, as this series goes on, well, it's getting a little bit more, well, the names of the spacecraft are getting a little bit more jokey, so yeah, so I just kind of wanted to use this, and I was figuring out what would be good with VEN at the beginning of the word, and yeah, I just came up with VEN.E.R.E.A.L, so that's why this is VEN.E.R.E.A.L, and it's a little bit gross, but you know. Anyway, so yeah, this is going to be a rover. It's going to be a rover that is going to go around Venus. We've not sent a rover to Venus yet, and if we do, what I am doing, well, I'm running BonVoyage on my save, so we can kind of get a huge amount of science by landing this on Venus and then just getting it to go everywhere around Venus where we want. So obviously I've got our rover already in. I'm gonna offset these just so that they are all exactly at the same height and a nice distance apart. Now, I'm not entirely sure the best configuration for the wheels for this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have steering on the front wheels. I'll disable them for the back wheels, and I'm going to whack the brakes all the way up to as much as they can go on each of them. And then, come on, let me select that. And then I am going to click both of these, and I'm just going to whack these all the way up to the max. And what we can do is we can change these once these have landed, and we can see kind of, well, fine-tune it to where it should be. But anyway, we have a rover with wheels, but that is not everything that we're going to add onto this. Obviously, we are going to make this, well, it needs a lot of scientific experiments on here because we want to actually gain all of the science that we can whilst we are at Venus. Now, I only want one of these, so I think we'll place that there. We are going to get ourselves a thermometer and barometer. Yep, we need one of those. So there's the thermometer, there's the barometer. So yep, that's cool. We want maybe one of these, and I think it should be that way is the correct way that it should be. Yep, and now I think when we extend that, it will go down. Yep, that works perfectly now. That is exactly where we want it to be. Why have I gone into utilities? There are still some important scientific experiments that we need to place on this thing. So we want a magnetometer boom, and I think I'm going to place that there. Gonna need to offset that so that it is central. Yeah, that looks promising. Actually, I want to move it back ever so slightly, because on top of this thing, I am going to want to place a solar panel. Right, so now that we've got that, we also need a quadrupole mass spectrometer, which is the most advanced mass spectrometer that we have available at the moment. I think it's mass spectrometry 3. And we're going to want a basic TV camera, because that is also another experiment that we can do whilst landed. So we're going to whack that over there. And yeah, that should be promising there. Now, I think that might be all of the scientific experiments that we can do whilst landed. Just going to have a quick browse through. There is nothing that is jumping out that catches my eye. So I think we are done with that. Next thing that we're going to do is we are going to grab a static solar panel, and we are going to whack this on top of this thing. Now, I usually use RTGs for my rovers, and I am going to be using an RTG for this rover as well. However, for BonVoyage to work, it doesn't recognize the RTGs that are in Realism Overhaul. So I want to actually have a solar panel so BonVoyage does work. BonVoyage is an absolutely fantastic mod. It means you can, basically move rovers in the background, and yeah, it's really nice. So if we place just a solar panel on top like that, gonna set it to tech level 4. How much are we gonna be getting at Venus? So about 663 watts. If I change this around to small vents, I think that might go up. No. We are going to be 663 watts. Okay, so actually I kind of liked the large design. I think that looks quite nice, so I'm going to keep it. We're going to stick it with that. Now that we have done that, well, basically that's all that we need for this rover. So let's just add a few utility bits that I like adding onto rovers. So we're going to have a couple of lights because, well, we want to be able to see where we're going. And if I can select this correctly, we are going to place those there. I think that will do us fine. And what else do we want on here? We want a few nav cams just to make this... I like the front of a rover looking very busy. It's just something, yeah, it's just... You saw Tenacity, and the front of Tenacity was very busy. It had a lot going on. So it's just something that I like doing. And then I think maybe we'll get a science cam in as well. I think we'll move this nav cam over slightly. And actually, we'll move that over slightly as well. Let's move that up a little bit to the RPWS. And then we've got a bit more room to actually place this nav cam. So I'm not sure about the lights being there. I think I'm going to actually get rid of those and place the lights down here. Maybe. Yeah. That will do. That will do. I only want one of these nav cams. And I'm not quite happy with how this is looking at the moment. I think I'm going to get rid of the science cam, because that's just taking up a load of space. I'm going to grab a nav cam there, and then we'll grab another nav cam there. And there we go. That's a little bit better. There's a really cool model of rover on the loading screens for Realism Overhaul, and I'm not sure how to get that looking like that. It looks amazing, but yeah, unfortunately, I can't actually do this like this. So let's whack this bang in the middle there. That will do us nicely. And now I'm going to tweak scale it down a little bit because that is, quite frankly, rather large for the front of this. And yeah, we don't want it to be that big. We're going to offset it so that we're actually looking down at the ground. And there we go. We have lights, and I want to place some lights on the back, I think. Do we want to place? See, that mass spectrometer is kind of in the way, but I think we should be okay with that. And actually, I'm going to save that now. I don't think there's really anything else that I want to add, except actually, no, I am going to add a booster cam on the side, just to maybe one of these. Then we've got another camera, and it's kind of, it looks kind of cool. I like that. I want this to look rather beautiful. So yeah, I think that is going to be our basic rover design done. No, it is not. There is one crucial part that I am missing, and it is the RTG that is going to make this thing run for, well, most of its duration. So let's just grab one of those, and we'll stick that on the back as well. Isn't that floating? It is floating slightly, so let's just whack that in there. Okay, so that is definitely the rover done now. So now let's save that, and now what we're going to do is actually work on our descent stage at Venus. So we're going to grab a decoupler, and we're going to set the force percent to this to 0. Now, the reason why I want to set this to 0 is because I basically want this just to kind of pop off once we actually land at Venus. So fillet, I'm going to keep that maybe at 100 millimeters. The length, we are going to get this down a little bit, maybe to there. No, I don't know. What I want to do here is place a heat shield on the bottom, and I think we can get away with a heat shield that is 2.5 meters. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. That actually looks really good. So this is kind of how I did the Tenacity rover as well. It is going to look ever so slightly different. That is a little bit too short. So there we go. I basically want the wheels to be touching the heat shield. There we go. So that is that stage done. Now what we want to do is get another decoupler, and we want to flip a decoupler. Flip a decup. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just crossing into my mind there. But no, we want to flip the decoupler because when we want this to detach, we want it not to be part of this rover. No, we want this to be on the stage that is going to be above. So we've got that. Now I'm going to grab myself an interstage ring. Where are they? If I can find them. Procedural hollow interstage ring. Yep, that's what we want. We want to place that there. We are going to set this down to be 2.5 by 2.5. And no, that's not 2.5. That's 2.3. And then we're going to lower the height slightly. So hopefully it touches this heat shield at the bottom. Then we're going to get our conic recolor. We are going to set that to radial symmetry, and we're going to place it all around like that. Now, that does look a little bit too large, so we are going to have to try and sort this out. So let's go into here. Maybe I can reduce the height a bit. Is that? No, the height is actually pretty much perfect. So we're going to go into fairing auto shape, and we're going to mold this ourselves. So I think maybe if we stick it there and we start the cycle somewhere around there. I wonder if we go 2.5. No, 2.5 is a little bit too big. What happens with the cycle end? Let's try getting the cycle end like that. There we go. That looks exactly what I want it to look like. Perfect. Right. Now the next stage that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to place a fuel tank for our RCS thrusters that are going to control this thing's attitude as we are coming down in the atmosphere at Venus. So let's make this 2.5 as well. There we go. And I'm going to inset that slightly there. That looks good. And then I'm not going to fill this up with anything, but I am going to place another tank in the middle, and I don't want it to be that big. But at the moment, you might see that, well, it's kind of, there's a gap, there's a hole, and I don't want a hole, so we're going to move that down as well, and then there we go. That looks good. I think, does that reach the edges? Is that a little bit too big? Let's get that down to maybe 1.3. There we go, and then we'll raise that up. We will raise it up, and that should do us absolutely wonderfully. So let's go in here, because what we want to do is once we get down to Venus, we want to detach this entire stage. So we are going to add ourselves some solid rocket motors so this thing can be propelled off once we actually land. So let's set our snap to 90. We've got our symmetry on 4 times. That should do us fine. That will launch that up. Now I want to grab one more of these, and I want to place just one. And what we're going to do is we are going to set this to fire that way. That way, when this gets launched off, it will go in this direction rather than just launching straight up and smashing straight back into us, because that would be terrible. Right, so next step that we're going to do is we are going to want to be able to control the attitude of this thing. So I'm going to grab these because I know that these are able to survive re-entry, and I want to create 4 of these. And let's get these, if I can get them the right way. There we go. I'm going to set this to 90 snap again. And there, that's where we want them. And now actually I'm going to set it to 30 degrees snap, and we're going to make these so that they are actually the right way. They are the right way, and we'll set them in ever so slightly as well. So they're kind of just, you know, poking out of the top. There we go. I think that will do us fine. I think that's where we want them to be. Obviously, we need to go in and set them to Aerosine and NTO. Very important to remember to actually configure your RCS thrusters the way they should be. And yeah, that's that. Now, what I'm going to need now is I am going to need some RCS thrusters so that we can actually deorbit this stage. Now, these things will burn up in Venus's atmosphere. It's a little bit unfortunate, but that doesn't particularly matter. So we're going to get 4 of these, and we will place them like that on there. And then we're just going to fit them snugly into this section there. There we go. And we are, of course, once again going to set these to Aerosine and NTO, make them the best technology level that we have. And have I set this to high pressure? Have I set this to high pressure? I can just set that to regular because we're not actually using that as a tank. So that saves us on a little bit of weight. There we go. We're going to fill this up with Aerosine and NTO. But that is going to be a stupid amount. We do not need 2,000 meters per second of Aerosine and NTO to deorbit us at Venus. So I'm going to set that down to the utilization to be 10, and then we've only got 367 meters per second, which will be more than enough to deorbit us and maintain our attitude whilst we descend. Right, so next step is we need a parachute because, I mean, Venus's atmosphere is very thick, but we are going to need a parachute in order to land ourselves safely. So let's get this Mark 16 parachute. We will plop that in there like that. And then obviously we are going to go over to the actions group and we are going to configure this parachute. So we need to be landing on Venus, and the weight, the mass of this spacecraft at the moment is about 1.2 tons. So we're going to input that into the input craft mass section. I think we're going to want our touchdown speed to be about 2. We want our pre-deployment altitude to be maybe 2,000 and our deployment altitude to maybe be 200. Or we could actually probably get away with that being 1,500. Obviously, we're going to be very slow by the time we reach there just because of how thick Venus's atmosphere is. So we can deploy our parachutes pretty much at the last second. So that should be all good. We don't want any spare chutes. And actually, no, we do need to remember to change this to Kevlar, because nylon and silk will burn up in Venus because Venus is very hot. It's very close to the sun and it has a very thick and deadly atmosphere. So there we go. That is us all done with our actual lander. Now what I'm going to do is I am quickly going to go in and I'm going to recolor this. I think I want that as orange foam. I'm going to make these orange as well. Orange foam as well. Wonderful. Let's get that there like that. And then I'm going to make this black on the top. And there is black. So there we go. Now, it looks a bit odd, but I think this should work. We've got our parachute. We've got our ways to deorbit. One thing that I did forget to do, actually, is we need to set our antenna on this rover. And we also need to make our sample capacity go up for when we're actually carrying those samples around. We're not going to recover those samples, but we can still transmit some of the data back to the Space Center, so we can get some science from it, which is why I have that sample grabber on there. Right, so what we want to do now is we're going to set our RF band to S band, and I think we're going to go transmit power for about 45. I believe if we get the antenna planning GUI up, there it is, this should be fine to get us to Venus, and we should always be able to communicate with Venus. There we go, 70 bits per second at its furthest point, so we are going to be absolutely fine with that. There we go, that is our antenna done, and I think that might be our lander. So let's quickly go into our staging and check that everything is all right. So I want those to fire at the same time as those RCS thrusters. We'll place that up there for now. Our parachute will be the next thing to go. And then, well, we will land and then we will detach all of this stuff after we have landed. So we want that to go. We want that to go, that decoupler. And we also want our solid rocket separation motors to fire. Then after that, we want this decoupler to go. And I think that should be us done. But actually, I just want to check this. Force percent is 100. That is what we want, I do believe. So let's once again save this up and do that all-important step that is testing this thing in crash. Because, yes, testing is very, very important. Very, very important indeed. So let's set our altitude to about 145,000. No, we're going to go for 150,000. I think Venus's atmosphere starts at 145,000, so we want to go a little bit higher than that. So, yes, altitude 150,000. Let's test this thing out, and I will see you in orbit around Venus. So here we are in orbit around Venus. So let's make sure that this thing all works. And actually, I am going to skip around Venus a little bit because I think if we start deorbiting now, well, we're going to be landing in the dark, and that wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be great viewing, and I would quite like to see this thing come down. So we're going to wait until the sun rises again. Then, kind of, well, counterintuitively, we are going to turn ourselves prograde. Or actually, no, before we turn ourselves prograde, I need to set the control point to be up. Whoa, words, use them, they are there to be used. So yeah, counterintuitively, we are going to be going prograde because obviously these rockets are pointing the wrong direction. So in order to deorbit, we are going to have to fire in the prograde direction. But here we go, let's fire this up now, and I think what I'm going to do is try and get this to about 0 meters, and we'll see what that does for us. Hopefully, we should have a decent descent through Venus's rather thick and unforgiving atmosphere. So there we go. We have now, well, there we go. Now we are below the surface, so that should hopefully be decent. It might take a while to get to there, though. I think I've done a build episode already with Venus as the focus. I can't actually remember. I'm not sure. Voila? Did I do one for Venus? I remember talking about Venus descents taking a really, really long time before, but I can't actually remember if I did that in a build episode or not. Oh, well, my mind has gone blank. But anyway, let's time warp this now that we are pointing in the right direction. And it's, like I said before, it is going to take us a really, really long time to get down to the surface, but what I'm going to do is I am going to cut out a lot of this descent with the magic of video editing, but I will see. Well, we'll see if we can get through the atmosphere first. So I'm not going to cut out that bit because I do want to show that this all works. What I will cut out is the probably what 10-15 minutes that it takes to get from having slowed down to actually landing on Venus. I will cut all of that out and then I will join you back once we are in, well, once we have landed so we can actually see if this rover works. Anyway, I'm trying to find Planet Shine at the moment because I set my intensity to be ridiculously high. And if I'm going to be honest, it looked a little bit silly on this aero shell. So we are coming down. We have got everything set up. And hopefully we should start feeling the bite of Venus's atmosphere relatively soon. I think it's around 121,000 meters that you really start, well, slowing down considerably. And it's around 85,000 meters that you have slowed down to about 50 meters per second. That is why it takes so long landing on Venus. But this will be worth it. This technically could be the last thing that we land on Venus because, well, hopefully, this thing should be able to visit every single one of Venus's biomes because we'll just set it up on BonVoyage to go around, wander the planet, get all of the science that we could possibly want, and then transmit it back to us. The only thing that I think we could need to send in the future is if we unlock better science, which we very well may do soon. I haven't unlocked all of the scientific experiments, so we might be sending another one of these once our scientific experiments are a bit more advanced. Well, and hopefully that won't take a particularly long time. So we are at 120,000 meters now, so we really should start feeling the bite of the atmosphere soon. You can see, actually, yes, there we go. We are slowing down, so hopefully this shouldn't take too long. I love the look of Venus, and actually it's great when you see Venus sunrise or sunset, the atmosphere going all blue. It looks so pretty. It looks really, really pretty. Unfortunately, I don't think we are going to see that because if you can see, the sun is there. And obviously, the sun is very large in the sky around Venus because, well, we're very close to the sun. But yeah, no, being over there, we are definitely not going to be witnessing a Venus sunrise or sunset. So come on, are we going to slow down? Hopefully nothing burns up. Let's get rid of Kerbal alarm clock and actually let's get flight engineer up with the heat issues. There we go. We can see those particle effects coming in now. And it looks like our critical temperature is our heat shield, and that's always promising. I think what I'm going to do, no, I am going to keep the RCS on. I was going to say, I'm going to turn the RCS off because, well, we don't want to be wasting this, although that's not particularly an issue. We won't really see, well, we won't be using this anymore, but yeah, turning it off seemed to actually make us go in a direction that we didn't want to go. But it looks like we have come through the worst of the atmosphere now. And this little box, this container, which contains our very, very precious rover, has made it safely through the atmosphere, which is amazing. So, like I said, now that we have slowed down considerably at 85,000 meters, we've still got 78,000 meters to go. I am going to go away for the next little bit. And what I will do is I will just super speed through this landing, and hopefully it shouldn't take too long. And there we go, we have landed on Venus and everything went well. So you may have seen that there were some flames coming out of this. That was those Aerosine RCS thrusters, as I did mention, were going to burn up. But We managed to get down safe anyway, so that doesn't matter. So now what we can do is we can get rid of this section here, and actually I want all of these to go at the same time, so I need to remember that once I actually get back into the vehicle assembly building. So let's detach this next stage and hopefully nothing goes too badly. If it's gonna fire, come on. There we go. And, well, it kind of worked. They might need a bit more... Oh, hello. They might need a bit more of ejection power on those payload fairings. And yeah, that didn't go particularly far. I suppose Venus has got a very thick atmosphere, so that is quite a heavy tank full of fuel. Anyway, so now let's detach this rover, and hopefully we should be able to move this off, although I don't like the fact that that payload fairing is... Oh, hello, on top. Come on, let's get this thing safely off, please. We're going to move this way to avoid that gigantic piece of debris that is now on the ground. And you know what? Oof, there we go. We did bump into it a little bit. Cool. I've really not been great with my words for this episode, but anyway, yeah, everything looks like it's working. Everything looks like it is working an absolute charm. So we've obviously got all of our cameras, so we can... Oh, wow, we are on a sideways view. That's a little bit sickening. And yeah, everything is good. Let's turn our lights on, make sure that they light up the ground in front of us. Yep, that looks good. And if we hit the brakes, we are going to slow down to a complete stop, except we apparently are still moving 0.4 meters per second, even though we are definitely still. Well, I don't understand why this happens. We aren't moving. We are now. There we go. Why when the brakes are active? I think it might be these wheels moving a bit too rigorously. So, like I said, let's try and change some of these. Hopefully, override, friction control 2.2, 2.0, override 2.2, traction control auto. Let's just set these all up to 100. Does that do anything? Does that do anything? No, well, we're not even moving at a number at the moment, which is really bizarre, but hopefully we just move this. Yeah, this thing is actually quite nice to control. That's really good. So I'm very pleased with how this has turned out. So yeah, this actually works as well as it should do. And if we just whack the brakes on. So yeah, it really doesn't like the brakes. Maybe the brakes are a little bit too much being at 200. So let's set these down to 100. And oh, there we go. And actually see if that does anything any better. So it might be the brakes. It very well could be the brakes. So now let's slow ourselves down and keep the brakes on. And actually, yeah, that will do us fine because now I can time warp. Anything below 0.3 meters per second and you can time warp. I think that's the limit in KSP. So now that we've got this down, actually, I'm gonna just make sure that we can run BonVoyage. Oh, there we go. We got a little bit bigger there. So BonVoyage, where are we? We want BonVoyage control panels. So what you can actually do with this mod, and I'll show you how this works. So we can go and pick on the map where we want to go to. So we have landed over here. So say we want to go over to VEN.E.R.E.A.L, which is over there. We then click that. And there we go. Finding a route found. Brilliant. So now that we've got a route, what we can do is we can hit go. And then once we leave this vessel, it will start making its way over to VEN.E.R.E.A.L, completely in the background. And it will take a long time to get there because this thing only moves at, well, 2 meters per second at max. But having a look at that, I can actually see that this will work. We have enough power on that solar panel to actually make this work. So that's really, really nice. So with that all being said, I think it's time to go back to the vehicle assembly building and actually build up the rest of the rocket that is going to get this little rover to Venus. So now that we know that that all works perfectly, what I'm going to do is I am going to bring these payload fairings down there. Like I said, we're going to raise up that ejection power a little bit, and hopefully that will mean that these get forcibly removed rather than just kind of spinning on top of the rover. So that's all done. So what we can do now is actually build up the rest of the craft. So we are going to need a payload adapter once again. Well, not a payload adapter, an interstage ring, and we're going to stick that on there. I really, really, really hope that that has actually hit the heat shield rather than... Come on, let's get that payload. Let's get this. Where are you? Procedural hollow interstage ring. That's what I was looking for. So what I want to do is change the height. No, we have messed up there. There we go. That wants to go there. And actually now we can make this height go down again. If I can select it again. Oh, it's inset into here, isn't it? So that's why that's going to be rather difficult. Come on, where can we go? Payload fairing? No. This might be a bit of a pain to actually find it. There we go. We've grabbed it. So let's make the height back to where it was. So we're actually covering our little spacecraft, our rover. Now that we've done that, let's lower this down. And what I think I'm going to do is set this to be 2.5. Obviously, that heat shield is 2.5 in diameter, 2.5 meters in diameter. And the base, let's go for 2.5 as well. And this will just be a very long structure. And okay, so we can do that. Now we can place our payload fairings on. And that's bizarre. I would have thought they'd have gone straight up into that heat shield, but apparently they haven't. Let's get some extra height on those then. So it is all connected. There we go. This is going to look very bizarre, but you know what? If it's very bizarre and it works, then it works, doesn't it? So it's not particularly an issue. And actually, no, we are going to probably need a avionics unit on this stage so that we can actually control our capture stage. Right, so we're going to make this a diameter of 2.5 because everything is 2.5 at the moment. We're going to make this a diameter of 2.5 because everything is 2.5 at the moment. And then we are going to add the S2 mount. It's the mount that I like using the most at the moment, right? So there we go. Yes, we're going to add the S2 mount and we're going to get our length down a little bit. Yeah, this thing looks hideously ugly, but if it works, it works. Okay, so we are going to grab ourselves an AJ10 series advanced. We're going to inset that into this fuel tank like that. And then, of course, we are going to upgrade the engine. I always seem to forget about this with the AJ10 Advanced. There are engine upgrades. So we're going to change it to the AJ10 118F, which I think gives us a little bit better thrust and a little bit, well, better thrust and better ISP. So yeah, it's a bit of a no-brainer. So we might as well do that. There we go. Aluminium, copper, high pressure. It's a bit of a shame because actually I am going to unlock new tanks very soon. This is right at the start of 1967. So this is the 1st of January, I think, that I'm designing this. Let's have a look. It is the 1st of January, 1967, yes. So our Venus transfer window is coming up rather quickly. We're also going to be sending Vescan 1 and 2 back in that transfer window, because obviously they didn't work last time that we went to Venus. Right, so we want to fill this up with Aerosine and NTO, and that gives us a weight of, well, a mass of 6.9.66 tons. How much are we getting out of this? 2,206 meters per second, but that's not 3,232 meters per second. Will that be enough to slow us down to a low Venus orbit? Let's get my Venus transfer window up. 3,500 capture, so we do need a little bit more. Just a tad, though. Not a huge amount. That's all right, because we definitely have enough in this tank to do that. So 3,500, and it's 402 seconds burn. This has a rated burn time of 450. So yes, that is absolutely fine. We are absolutely fine with that. I don't think I want those massive, absolutely ginormous RCS thrusters, though. I think I want the one down from that. No, that's two down from... No, that's the smallest. That's the one I'm looking for. We're going to create 4 of these. And actually, I have unlocked a new tech level of, well, RCS thrusters, so we can upgrade that to the most recent tech level as well. Absolutely wonderful, all brilliant. Right, so that is going to be our stage that gets to Venus. We need to make sure that we have deep space avionics on here, and that is going to weigh 8.1 tons. So what we need is 6.57 tons will go, because the avionics in that rover can, well, it has 2 tons of avionics on there, so that's why we only need this to be 6.5 roughly to actually work. but I'm fairly certain that this is going to have a ludicrous amount of electric charge in here. It does. So we are going to want to change this down to 200 because we do not need that much electric charge, and there's a good chance, yeah, there we go. We've gone up to 4,000 delta V almost, so actually we can make this a little bit smaller. I think 3,500 will do us absolutely fine. Maybe 3,600 just to be safe in case we need to perform any deep space maneuvers or anything like that. So there we go. That is us all done. Now that we have done that, I reckon we weigh a lot less. Yeah, we only weigh 6.5 tons now, so actually we can get away with this being 5 tons. Yeah, I can't even add up 5 plus 2. That was really embarrassing. Yeah, so yeah, this 5 plus 2 is 7, and we only weigh 6.5. Yeah, that is absolutely correct. So brilliant, and that's actually saved us a lot of weight by getting rid of all of that electric charge. Brilliant, amazing, absolutely amazing. Right. Now, of course, we're going to need our transfer stage to get us over to Venus. So, what are we going to be going for? I might see... I really don't think a Pegasus X1 will do this, but it might be worth just seeing because, well, it's only 3,800 meters per second of delta V to get us to Venus. So, let's have a look and see what that is going to give us. Where is our RL10? Our RL10 is there. Oh, it's very, very close. Oh, no, that's incredibly close. But unfortunately, it's not quite enough. So we are going to need a Pegasus 2. Oh, that's a real shame. That's a real shame indeed. Oh, well, so, yeah, let's get the Pegasus 2. That's a shame. But, well, at least, yeah. No, that's not too much of an issue. I want the Pegasus X2, please. That was just the Pegasus 2. We have been using the Pegasus X series for quite a while now, so it's better, it's improved. So, yes, that's why we are using the Pegasus X series. And actually, I think I'm gonna make these. Well, actually, no, we can upgrade these. We've got better tech levels, so we'll upgrade those and we'll place another one there just to move this stage around a little bit better. Okay, so we want those 2 RL10 engines. We're gonna place them down there. And we are going to want to grab that payload adapter. It's all the way up here, and we're going to place that there. And then we want those 2 sets of RCS. Where have they gone? Up here. Is that for both of them? It is for both of them. We get 4,988 meters per second. So, well, we have 1,000 meters per second more delta V than we actually need for this stage. But it's a bit of a shame that the Pegasus 1 was quite not able to do this, so we are going to have to use the Pegasus X2. So let's save this up now that we've done that. And how much do we weigh? We weigh 27.25 tons. So you know what that means? That means, of course, we're going to be going for the Adventurer number 2. And actually, just before I whack this on the bottom of this rocket, I am going to, well, open up our hangar a little bit. And we just need to paint this quickly. This shouldn't actually take too long, so I'm going to talk through it because this shouldn't take me any time at all. So orange foam there. We're going to change this to cryo. We are going to maybe change it to just silver. And then we're going to open up the recoloring GUI. We're going to change the mount to white. So everything in my space agency has been this very orange and white color at the moment. And actually, I'm not sure if I like that, but oh well, we're going to stick with it. We are going to stick with it. So that should be us done. Actually, no, let's get rid of that flag because that flag looks rather silly. And that's us done. That should definitely be us done. So let's pick up the Adventurer 2 yet again, and we are going to place this, making sure we set our snap all the way down because, well, if we place 2 of these rather large launch vehicles, it would lag my game out considerably. So there we go. We have the Adventurer 2 in place. There is so much room left in that payload fairing, it's almost comical, so that's not too bad. Now we're just going to set this down, because I have had issues with these before, but hopefully this will be fine, and then of course we're just going to try and get it bang on. That's not quite bang on. Those RL10 engines are unfortunately floating just a tad, but it's better that they float just a tad than if they were clipping into that actual payload adapter. That's when all kinds of things go bad, so we do not want that to happen. Right, let's see. Has this saved correctly? So we're going to be fine. No, it has not. So what we want to do is we want to get our E1s, our J2s, to fire up at the same time right at the start. Then we are going to want to create a new stage here, and that will go there, that will go there, that will go there, and then I believe this should be everything for the launch tower. I think so. Yep, those are the Algol IBs, and then this is the rest of the launch tower, so that is going to go there. Then once that's done, we want to create a new stage, which is going to be our separation motors for our Algols to actually go away, and we want that radial decoupler on, and then we want to separate our two E1 boosters. So where have they gone? They have gone there. So let's do that. And then obviously the separation motors, so we don't crash into our core stage. Where is the other ones? There we go. That is all done. Now, I think we just need to find the payload adapter, which is there. There we go. We have that, and that goes there. On the RL-10 stage, yes, and we also need those 6 retro rockets to fire at the same time to deorbit our core stage. And then I did miss out a small stage, which is, of course, to get rid of our payload fairings. And actually, I'm going to raise the ejection power on this ever so slightly. We're going to save that. And that is us done. So what are we going to do? Of course, we are going to test this thing. So I'm going to go to the launch pad, and I will catch you, well, on the launch pad. So here we are on the launch pad with VEN.E.R.E.A.L. Oh, that's so gross. Anyway, let's get MechJeb Ascent Guidance up and see if everything works as it should. So current, I think we'll go for 160 rather than 180. And of course, we are going to set our orbit inclination to our current. Everything else looks okay. Let's get rid of auto-deploy solar panels. I don't think there are any solar panels to deploy, but you know, force of habit. Right, so I believe with that we can engage autopilot and let's launch this thing. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything important. Okay. Okay. Right. So it's not having a good time. Why are we not having a good time? What is going wrong? Are we just taking a really long time to figure out what our ascent profile is going to be? This is strange. Current inclination. Let's maybe set this up to 180 by 180. That might make it run a little bit better. Let's disengage and engage again. Oh, I think I know what's gone wrong. We're obviously controlling this from the rover, and that is currently at a weird point. So we want to try and get into that rover and control it from a different angle, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that. So what we are going to do is we are going to find the avionics on this actual launch vehicle, and we will control it from there. So that would have been disastrous if that thing would have actually launched. But no, it's not going to... Oh, I know why. I'm still on time warp. That probably may be why. That was really silly of me. And the reason why I'm in time warp is because for some reason this rocket seems to be doing a little bit of a wobble. But we do want to control from there. And let's see if we can slow down this wobble. We're going to engage autopilot, and then hopefully this should work once we come out of time warp. There we go. We are go. So we're going to launch now, and I will be with you momentarily once the really loud part of this launch is done. So there we go. Everything is a little bit quieter now. I can actually hear myself think. And, well, everything seems to be going fine for the launch at the moment, but then it is an Adventurer 2. I know this thing is more than capable of actually launching this craft into orbit. The thing that we really do need to test is going to be the transfer stage. Well, actually, no. The only thing that we need to test now is the capture stage, because we know that the Pegasus X2 works. That's the great thing about using, well, sub-assemblies. That's the word I was looking for. The great thing about using sub-assemblies is that we have tested this before. I did change the RCS on it ever so slightly though, but it shouldn't cause us an issue. There we go. I'm quite glad that I set that ejection power to be a little bit higher. That way we definitely didn't crash into our craft. Now, it shouldn't take us too much longer, hopefully, to actually achieve orbit. We've only got 440 meters per second of delta V remaining after we orbit though, which is a little bit surprising considering this thing only weighs 27 tons and this thing should be able to, well, the Adventurer 2 should be able to lift up to 32 tons. Maybe I've done that wrong. I'm fairly sure when I did the build episode for that though, it was definitely capable of lifting 32 tons. And actually, I think that was the last build episode I did, wasn't it? So yeah, these build episodes are becoming less and less, I guess. I don't know. I need to find more interesting things to do each time. So obviously this is a bit more interesting because it's a rover, but I had already done quite a few launch vehicle episodes, but I think I will probably do the first section of Conglomerate, which is going to be the lunar base on a build episode. I think that might be, maybe not the next one I do, but that will come very shortly, I think. That is something that I am looking into doing very shortly, is actually building us up a lunar base. So obviously we have the Ellen Cox Memorial Station. It has been extended now and we have a crew there at the moment. And we are going to be extending it further on in this year with the James Peters module. But there we go. We managed to get up to orbit and we hit 180 by 180. That's absolutely wonderful. So let's fire off this next stage. And of course, I was controlling here. So does this actually deorbit us? No, this doesn't deorbit us at all. Well, that's a bit of a bummer, but oh well. Anyway, so let's turn our RCS on and let's kill the rotation. So this aerosine all works. That's amazing. Now let's fire up. That looks good. And let's see if we can control this from the top. Data, nope. Control point forward, control point up. That's what we want to do. And obviously we're not controlling from there. So let's actually control from there, please. Control from here. And why have you gone right under the ascent guidance? That couldn't have come up at a more annoying spot. Right, so control from here. There we go, and we are now facing prograde. And oh wow, that was bizarre. We had a shutdown on that RL10 engine. How peculiar. But anyway, so we know this stage all works. Let's separate this and let's fire this up. It looks like this stage is going to do us absolutely fine as well. Yep, that all works. And then finally, we want to detach this. And oh yes, I was going to say we have lost communications, but that is because this has an S-band antenna on it. So obviously we are far too close to Earth to be able to talk to this probe. But anyway, that is that, and that is done. So let's head back to the vehicle assembly building. So now that we know that VEN.E.R.E.A.L works, we can go in and we can tool it. So let's get our RP-1 tooling up. Shouldn't cost too much this, I don't think. Tooling 20, wait, what? Okay. Right, what is costing all of us that money? Oh, it's the spherical tank integral. Oh, and it's a new diameter. Oh, well, we've got actually not as much money as I thought we had. We've only got 1,958,000, but we can afford to spend 27,000 there. I wouldn't advise doing that though. Probably could have done, well, maybe used a structural tank rather than that integral tank, but oh well. But yes, that is VEN.E.R.E.A.L. We are going to save this, we are going to launch it, and it is going to be launched in our Venus transfer window. But that, with that, is going to be the end of this episode. If you have enjoyed this episode, why not give it a like? If you have really enjoyed this episode and would like to continue with the content on my channel, please do consider subscribing. I have been Carnassa, and I will see you later.